Welcome to the Film podcast. I am that main D. Wayne. I am sitting here today with
Ada Marie Babineaux, his co-host, and we are sitting here with.
That's a better way to say it. That's a better way to say it. See, I'm still getting used to this.
No, we have a special guest who's came all the way down from Austin, Texas, which is only an hour, but it feels like 5 hours.
Yes, it does.
Because of the traffic and the driving. So we are so appreciative. Yaki Smith, welcome.
Thank y'all for having me. It's
Yes.
Welcome,
Your name
welcome.
precedes you.
Does it?
Yes. East Side legend.
All right, there we go.
East Side legend, yes, director.
Sam Houston legend.
Yes, we are so proud.
A Cherokee, an original
Exactly.
Cherokee.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with the Cherokee clan too. I didn't even know you. When did you graduate from Sam Houston?
99.
Oh, that's why I didn't know you. Because my ass was way up and deep into college, in and out of college.
No.
Different generation.
I always see you have such an older aura about you.
I look older.
No, you have an older
It's the beard.
aura.
It's the
Is that what it
beard,
is?
the beard, yeah.
I just think it's maybe your experience. You've been around. I don't know. You just seem older.
Maybe I was here before,
That's in
That
old
is,
spirits.
that is so
yeah.
true. So we are excited.
We're old
First
sages.
of all, I mean, you have to date completed what a dozen films to date,
Or more, really.
Yeah,
I can't count them
And
all.
We're happy to bring you in today because you have a new project,
I do.
and let's start with that, and then we can go back.
Okay.
So tell us about your latest project, and we're so happy that you entered it in SABIFF 2025. So we're
Yeah.
happy. Thank you for that.
Of course. So, yeah, it's a film called the Ohio, Texas Remix. And it is centered around a woman who travels from Ohio to Texas to kidnap her son from her estranged husband. And it is loosely based on true events. When I was 8, my dad came here to San Antonio, picked my sister and I up for what was supposed to be a summer, and he ended up keeping us for 2 years. And in those 2 years, he and my mom were basically in just a terrible kind of custody battle. And because they were still married, he still had parental rights, and she also had parental rights. And so she got an attorney. She tried to get us back. Attorneys are like, well, it's nothing we can do. We don't have jurisdiction. We're here in Texas, Ohio. And one of the attorneys, she said to her, look, ma'am, this is my only advice. I advise you to get in the car and drive to Ohio, get your kids, drive them back to Texas. And once you get back here to Texas, we can start divorce proceedings, because if we start divorce proceedings, who is ever in physical custody of the kids at that time, they will have parental rights.
It was a literal tug of war.
Yeah. And so my mom didn't have to do it, because ultimately my pops got in a little bit of trouble, and we ended up being sent back by his mom, my grandmother. But this is basically a film imagining what would have been if my mom had to come and get us. And really it's just about a mother's love, what a mother is willing to do to get her kids back. But also, I think it's more nuanced than that, because in the film, I could portray this father as this really, really bad human being, and to be honest with you, he's not. He's a man who is trying to right his wrongs. He's a man who actually is in love with his son, is in love with the idea of finally being a father, because now he has this pregnant, wife who's about to have a child, and so he wants to prove to her that he can be the father and the man that she needs him to be. And so having his son is a way of showing that. And so it gets a little bit complicated, because there are no, good guys or bad guys in this. I think everybody sort of exists in that gray area, and I'm always interested in that, because I think oftentimes films can kind of be sanitized, right? There's always the happy ending, or there's always a good guy and a bad guy.
Right.
And to be honest with you, life is not like that, right? I think all bad guys actually are good guys too in some way, right?
It just depends on what angle.
As they always say, right? The villain is the hero of his own story.
Right.
And so for me, I really, really wanted to sort of showcase that. And then also, again, pay homage to my mom, who I know would do anything for me, who I know has fought so hard for me and my sisters. And then also to my dad, right? Who was a complicated individual, who had his faults. Mom had her faults too. But a man who I have come to understand, I think once you grow up and you become a father and you become a husband, you understand how complicated relationships can be.
Yeah.
And you know what it means to have to really, really fight to keep one together, but you also see people who don't know how to fight to keep it together.
Right.
And so I think for my mom and dad, they didn't really understand how to fight to keep it together, because it was just too complicated, right? And so, the film is all of that.
Yeah, and I think you did a good job with it, but I want to say we were talking about the process, the research and development process. So what was your research and development process in terms of recalling, in terms of, did you interview your dad? Did you interview your mom before starting? Did you tell them about what you were doing? I mean, how did that all go? How did that play out?
So I didn't necessarily interview them, but I did talk to them. So the way this even came about is 2 years ago, you know, I have this Juneteenth documentary, and we were screening at the Cleveland International Film Festival. And I have not been to Cleveland, I mean, it had been like 33 years since I'd been to Cleveland. And it just so happened to be on the eve of my sister's birthday, which is March 31st. Ironically, her and my mom actually share the same birthday. That's a whole other complication. Yeah. But anyway, so I end up in Cleveland, and she's having this birthday party. So she comes to my screening, and she said, hey, I'm going to have a skate party tonight. You know, y'all, I mean, bowling party. You come to the bowling alley. You know, we're going to just play around, eat, and hang out. And I was like, well, it's Marie. Marie's my stepmother. Is Marie going to be there? Yeah, and so anyway, I get there, and Marie, who I have not seen again in 30-something years, she comes up to me, she embraces me. She pulls out this photo album, and she starts just showing me all of these photos. And it's a part of my life that, quite honestly, I remember, but I do think some of it was slightly traumatic. She was a great stepmother to me. She never treated us differently. She actually treated us like we were her own kids. But again, we were also away from my mom, right?
Right.
And so I think a lot of the stuff that she started telling me, I just kind of had blocked out. I remember some stuff, but not everything. And I remember she said to me, she said two things to me. She said, you know, your dad was interested. She said, you know, he swept me off my feet and then he took them from me. I was like, wow, that's a quote right there.
That is.
Right? And so then we started kind of talking about her and my dad's relationship. And then I said, you know, it's interesting because I wish you and my mom could have, you know, mended fences. You know, I know y'all had that conversation. That was really bad over the phone. And she says, I've never spoken to your mom before in my life. I said, well, my mom said y'all had a conversation, you know? And she's like, that was not me. And so actually I facilitated a conversation between she and my mom, and they had never spoken before.
You did?
I did.
Wow.
By having that conversation at the bowling alley, my mom called her, I think a week later, and I think they stayed on the phone maybe an hour.
That was the way you dealt with it as a child or growing up.
Growing up,
That they talked.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really just me, you know, as I'm talking to her and remembering all the things that happened, and then hearing her say that she wishes she and my mom had spoken, and then my mom saying that we hadn't spoken. Again, I think that's where you get into the complications of, like, there's always two sides to every story, and really three sides to every story.
Right.
Because the story that she heard and the story my mom heard were completely different, which was purposeful, by the way. And so once I did that, I started talking about mom more about this story. And then that's sort of what the research process was, of me just saying, you know what, I think I want to go back and remember this. One, because there are things about it that I don't remember, but also I do remember, you know, when we left, wanting to come home, but also like, man, I had a little sister and I had a stepbrother, and like I felt like we had built a new life there, right? And it wasn't like I wanted to not be with my mom, because I wanted to be with my mom. But as a child, you do begin to feel like you're being pulled into two different directions, which I think in custody battles, that's ultimately what ends up happening to kids, because the kids are always the ones that get hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it really was.
I seen, so all the things that you're talking about, I'm seeing those key parts in the film, you know, with the kid, even when, and we don't want to give, you know, because we want people to see it. But there's a line when a child tells his mom, I want to see my sister.
Yeah.
And, but, so because you just talked about that, that's why I wanted to touch on that. But the line that actually really got me while I was watching it was when she said, oh, hey, Uncle Don, or whatever the uncle's name was. And it really kind of brought everything together to say, hey, these people,
they know each other. They're family.
Each other. They've grown up. And, you know, when she was walking through the house and the way that you handled the memories that she was remembering and things like that, like, it was a masterful piece of cinematic artwork.
Appreciate it, bro. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, oftentimes, like I said, we vilify folks. We don't understand these people were embedded in families, right? You know, my side of the family had a relationship with my father, right? And vice versa.
They had a relationship, but they still are more with the mother.
Of course.
You know, it's like, yeah, uncle, but I'm with my auntie because she's my auntie.
Again, as I said, with custody battles, kids are sort of torn between, but also families in general. Because now, sadly, oftentimes, guess what? I got to pick a side.
People pick sides. Yeah.
Right? I can't be, your friend and his friend still, or her friend still, because now you gonna think that I'm betraying you if I'm on the phone, when in fact it's not a betrayal. I also have a relationship with that individual as well.
Right.
And it gets really, even with the kids, sometimes it gets complicated, because if you want to have a relationship with pops and mom and dad have had a tumultuous relationship, sometimes she can feel like that is a betrayal on your part against her, when it's like, no, I just want to like reach out and have a relationship with my dad.
But that's what I felt when he said, no, I want to stay with my sister. The mother kind of felt like away.
Yeah.
Because she went all this way to, and then you want
to stay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and oftentimes that's what happens. But it's not an assault on either person. It's just that, I love both of y'all equally. I don't know what y'all's drama was, but that's not necessarily the drama that I've experienced from either one of y'all.
And a compliment to the actress that played the mom.
Yes, who was that actress?
Because she didn't have.
Who was the actress?
That's V. Bozeman, Empire.
She was on Empire?
She was on Empire.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, she's the first face you see on Empire when Lucian is like, she's in a recording studio and she's one of the first artists on the record company.
She lives in Austin?
No. She lives in
LA?
LA and Atlanta. She lives in
Well,
LA
she
and Atlanta.
captured that role. I mean, without many lines at all, I seen the empathy and the love that she had, because when the stuff happens, when everything happens, the look on her face, I seen everything.
Yeah,
I could read her mind
From that look.
and the way that you shot it, or it was great in showing her acting abilities, her nonverbal acting abilities. I really got across what she was trying to put out.
And who was that actress that was the co-conspirator? Who was that you were working
That's
with?
my wife, Michaela. Did
How's
an excellent job.
How's it working with her?
It's great. I mean, I think,
Other projects too. But.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's interesting. People always ask me that, but it's like we've learned how to work together, because you have to learn how to work together. Me and Michaela been together since college, and the first few films were rocky because I think we would bring our personal stuff on set, and that's not good because things get very complicated, right? It's like, no, when I'm on set,
I'm the director.
I'm the director, you the actress, and we are here to serve the work.
Right.
Right. We're not here to bring the drama that we didn't had at home to set. One, because it disrupts everything that we're trying to do, not just between us, but also it just disrupts the set period. But it's great. I love working with Michaela because she is one of those actresses who you don't have to talk to a lot, right? I think she gets it, right? Because she understands script analysis. She also, again, she's my wife, so she's been around, so she sort of also understands some of the more intimate details that other people may not understand because she's had a front row seat to some of this, right? But also, she just understands how to analyze a script. She understands how to really dig into a script, and she understands subtext. And it goes to what you were saying about V2. I think one of the things that I am very keen on whenever I'm directing an actor is it's not about what you're saying out of your mouth. It's about what you're saying when you're not speaking. Subtext is everything. And so when I'm analyzing a script, I'm not just thinking about what you're saying. I'm thinking about what you're feeling. I'm thinking about your backstory. I'm thinking about all the complicated sort of feelings that are going through your mind at every given moment. And I want to make sure that actors are capturing that so that if, in fact, I do want to cut a line that you had, I don't need the line because your face says it all, right? And so I think for me, it's important to make sure that actors understand the subtext, the backstory, the history, and really understand the relationships between them and the other characters that they're in scenes with. And if you do that, that's when you get these really, really sort of multi-layered, nuanced performances.
And I want to also give props real quick to the dad as well.
Oh, Sean killed it.
Was he in Angie's Cure?
No, Sean is from, maybe he was, but I know Sean from like The Wood, The Corner. He was just in the Kanan show, I think it was, one of those power shows.
Because I thought, so we had
Angie's Cure was a film
Corey.
Corey.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Booker, but my mind draws a blank.
Yeah.
It was
Anyway, he had a
feature-length
film last year that was in it, and I
maybe Sean
wondered
was in
he
it.
was in it. He did a great job
23,
in both films,
Okay.
but the way the dad, played that role.
I gotta go back and look at that and see if that was him.
Yeah,
Now that I'm thinking about it.
And see, I'm trying to talk about the film without giving stuff away because I'm like, when he did this and when this happened, we want y'all to go watch it. That's what we want y'all to do. But the way he played the role and the emotions that he was going through as a father, he was able to bring those out with his performance.
You know, it's interesting. Two things. One, he has kids. And I think we were talking about it, and he was like, man, sometimes just life experience and living allows you to really bring some of those things that when you're 18, 19, 20, and you're trying to do something, you don't have anything to access because you've not lived. But once you've lived, you can access those emotions because they're real.
Right.
And I think one of the things he and I really talked about was that, again, I don't want this father to be a villain. I want us to walk away with empathy for him. That this is a man, again, without giving anything away, that even the notion of not having his son with him destroys him on the inside, because for him it is another failure, right? And so he does not want to fail again, because having his son with him makes him feel like a successful man for the first time in his life. And so we talked about all that. I mean, we had a Zoom read through with all the actors, and really a lot of my read throughs are we'll read the script, but then I just go person by person and talk through character and answer any questions that they may have, and then we leave. Because we ain't got to sit here and read lines to each other. That's learning your lines. That's your job. That is not my job. My job is for you to get underneath the character, inside of the character. And so if I can do that, you're gonna know your lines. And so we spent a lot of time, again, just talking about the relationships between the mother and the father, and the new woman, and the kid, and even the niece, right? And the sidekick, right, who comes in, right? We talked about all of that, and I think having those discussions and really, really having time to really dig deep into those things helped the film really come to life in a very, very different way.
Did you write it with them in mind, the ones that you casted, or did you cast them after you wrote it?
I cast them afterwards because I just didn't know. You know, I didn't know if I wanted to, you know, go big and get, you know, named actors, or if I really wanted to stay local with it. To be honest with you, the whole point of shooting the film, ironically, is I want to write a feature. And so I've been pitching this feature around, and people get really excited about the feature, but I don't have anything to show, right? I haven't even really written a feature-length script yet. And so I feel like this short film, when I go into a room and pitch it to you, you're like, that sounds interesting, but I wonder what that'll look like. Guess what? Let me show you what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And so the point of it was to use it as a way to pitch the story when I go into rooms and try to get my next feature off the ground.
I can see that as a
big
good
time.
feature.
What I liked about it, another thing I liked about it, and I think is important, and we were talking about on one of our other shows, episode 3. Go watch it now. So we were talking about our roles and responsibilities as storytellers, and especially being Black and telling our stories from our points of view. And what I liked about your characters, and then I would like you to speak to, you know, how you develop your characters and the backgrounds you give your characters, you know, his job. You know, these weren't characters that were in the hood. Let's put it that way. These were real life Black people, you know, that looked like they may have had to go to work on Monday, you know, and work at the school district, you know, and, you know, the people that you know from church, not necessarily the people that you know from the hood or ready to fight at any given moment. And those characters exist in the real world too. But we have had those characters pushed on us so heavily that the other characters in real life, the lawyers, the normal, quote unquote, normal, you know, people that everyday lives don't get put on film as much. And I really like that those characters that you chose had lives that weren't, you know, stereotyped.
Yeah, I mean, you know, before I get into that, I want to go back and say something. My first comment is, and you already said it, but I feel like sometimes we get tired of those stories from the hood because we see the same portrayals over and over again, right? There are too many different types. Everybody is not a monolith that lives in the hood. I mean, I come from the village, right? I come from the east side. We all don't exist in the same way. And I think oftentimes in our films, we recycle the same images of people over and over and over and over again. For example, I done just fell in love with the show Forever that just came out on Netflix.
I gotta see it.
Forever? That's the name of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out.
And it's interesting because, like, you see two very different Black families. You see a very affluent Black family. Like Wood Harris is playing like the chef who has these restaurants, and his wife is in corporate America. But then you see another girl, like, I think she's from Baldwin Hills. She's from the hood, so off Crenshaw or something. But it's like, even in that portrayal though, right? She's going to a prep school. Her mom is working. It seems like 2 or 3 jobs to put her through that prep school. So we're in the hood, but we're seeing a different version of those individuals. And so I think we need to make sure that we showcase the totality of who we are because we exist in many different ways, even if we come from similar environments, right? What did I want to do with this? I wanted to see the blue collar worker, right? I didn't want these women to show up all broken down. I mean, these were fabulous women. The hair was laid, you know what I'm saying? The nails were done. They came in looking like they were ready to go to war, yet they was going to do a fabulous war, right? And the same thing with...
It wasn't no nigga shit while they were doing it.
That's what we've been trying to say the whole time. It wasn't no nigga shit.
They were there
This
to
a
take care of
podcast.
business, to support
Yes,
their
they were.
auntie.
Yes, they were.
Period.
They were family.
Yeah.
It was family, and they
Yeah.
didn't come in looking like they had, robbed people before.
Exactly. These are women who had never done anything like that. They actually, and that's what I wanted to portray too. The only person that might actually know what she's doing is Michaela's character. Because when I thought about her backstory, I'm like, oh, this woman could have actually, thinking about San Antonio, she could have actually been in the military before, right? So she could be a retired military woman. She's just friends with this young lady, been friends with her forever. And so she's like, let me go, because if the shit does go down, I know how to handle it. You might not know how to handle it, which is why we telling too much of the story, which is why she doesn't like certain decisions that she makes, right?
Right.
But even, again, back with the dad, like I wanted to show, this is a man who, even the house they live in, that's a nice house. The car he drives, that's a nice car, right? This is a man, again, who is working his 40, 50 hours a week, making sure that his family is provided for, making sure that his son, even when he brings his son that toy, he wants to make sure that his son has some of the things that he didn't have, right? So he's providing a life for his son that he felt like he was deprived from.
Yeah.
And I wanted to showcase that because that's what majority of us are doing anyway, right? We're making sure that we are providing for our kids in a way that maybe our parents, no matter how hard they work, they just might not be able to provide those things for us in the same way. And so I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that these were black people who were doing their thing. Yeah, they got some issues, obviously. You got this custody battle. But
Real
they
life
working.
happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for that because we were, again, episode 3, you got to go see what we talked about. We were talking about when we do our little media tour for SABIFF, and one of the questions that always comes from certain reporters is, why do you feel it's important to tell stories, for you to tell these stories? And it's representation, obviously, right? But then there's those micro representations, right? So showing black people that are blue collar workers and not gangsters gives people that are now watching this the room or the freedom to be a blue collar worker because they didn't think that before, because they're being shown, and as much as we could say preach to your kids and teach them to be on their own and everything, the visuals that they are shown daily affect them more than anybody realizes. And if you don't see yourself in these other shoes, one of the saddest stories that comes from my friendships with people, me and a friend of mine were talking out of high school. We were years removed from high school by this point. We had already started families and everything. And he said, when we were in school and they would come in and they would say, oh, you could go to this college or you could go to this college. He said, I never felt like they were talking to me. He said, we couldn't afford it. And it wasn't even an option for me. He said, so I tuned out. I said, you too? I said, I never thought they were talking to me either. I knew I was going to St. Philip's on the east side. Not because there's anything wrong with that, because I knew that's what I had seen, and that was what was almost like, I don't know, available to me or whatever. Like I didn't see past that because there was something that mentally put a wall there for us.
And that's why I think images, not only like images in terms of like film, TV, even video games, those images are so important in terms of showcasing different types of black life. But I also think that's why it's important for those who have gotten out. I hate saying the word gotten out. Those who
have gotten exposure to
got exposed to other things.
Yeah.
Because when you say get out, it's almost like you're trying to escape something. I'm not necessarily trying. Like I had a good life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It came with its issues. Right. Yeah. We had our gang shit that was happening.
Yeah.
But I lived a life. Right.
Yeah.
I had a mother who cared.
Yeah.
Right. Who did the best that she could. But I think it's important for us to then go back and show that. Let me tell you this. I came from this, and look where I am now. And these are the steps that I took. It's not easy. It's gonna be a lot of like nights where you might cry yourself to sleep. You're gonna be rejected a lot. Sometimes you're gonna feel like you're an imposter. You're gonna have imposter syndrome. You're gonna feel inadequate. You're not gonna feel worthy. All of those feelings are real feelings, and you need somebody to tell you that just because you feel that does not mean that you are a failure.
Exactly.
And as a matter of fact, feeling those feelings actually means that you are getting
propels you
closer and
forward.
closer to success,
Propels
right?
you.
And so I think, to your point, it's important to see it on screen, but it's also important for us, right, to show up live,
Right.
and show these kids that know there is something greater than what you're seeing right now in front of you that you can accomplish, and it is possible if you work hard and if you don't stop.
I want to just ask for this film. Then I wanted to switch over to another question that I had. But was this film for you therapeutic, and why did this particular story propel you forward to actually do it, to actually make it? Out of all the thoughts that comes into your brain about stories, why this one?
Well, I think, yes, it was therapeutic. I think, there's that moment again. I don't give too much away, but there's a moment where literally I was on set crying, right? Because as I was watching this father deal with what he thought was the end of something, I was thinking about my own son. And this notion that in many ways we end up living our lives not for our kids, but to ensure that our children, again, have the things that we didn't have. And for him to believe that has been torn away from him, that really got me, because I was like, I don't know how I would feel if I felt like I couldn't just access Zuberi and like speak life into him and be there for him, and have him come in the bedroom bothering me when I don't want to be bothered, right? All of those things are important, right? Because that's how you build relationships with your kids.
Right.
And so for me, I think seeing that portrayal of this father was therapeutic. And I think also, even with the mother, right, I think it allowed me to kind of maybe answer some questions in my head about my mom and dad's relationship, right, that maybe I've never really sat down and asked them. Because I'm not sure if either, sometimes even when you're in the middle of it, I don't think you quite understand it all, to be honest with you, and I don't even know if some of the questions I would ask them, if they would even know the answers to, because sometimes the story that you tell yourself for so long becomes the truth. And this happened 30 years ago, right? And so I needed to tell it now. One, because I felt like oftentimes when a story arrests me and it won't let me go, and I wrestle with it when I'm trying to sleep, I'm like, this is the time for me to tell that narrative. And I wanted to dedicate something to my mom. You know what I mean? I wanted to dedicate something to her love and her fight and her grit. And even though she didn't necessarily have to do it that way, she's done very similar fights and gone through very similar struggles and battles to ensure that I am the man that I am today. And so, I needed to make it now because I wanted her to feel that. Again, at some point, I want my father to see it. I haven't shown it to him yet.
I
haven't, no. So I'm gonna show it to him too at some point. And my mom hasn't even seen the finished product. She saw like the picture lock version, but she hasn't seen it with the music and the color corrections.
To see it?
I didn't know it was playing to SABIFF, right? You just told me something I didn't know.
Well, hold on.
See, y'all ain't.
See, there's secrets that we gotta. Look, we still deciding who's gonna be in SABIFF.
If it's in
But I
SABIFF,
think this is a top contender based on what I've seen.
Okay.
I think it's a good chance with it.
Okay, if
I've
it
seen
plays
some
at
behind the
SABIFF.
scenes stuff, and I think there's a very good chance that this film would be one of the films.
So
that we
if it
select.
screens at SABIFF, of course she will be there.
We have to recognize mom, and if whatever.
She will definitely be
I
there.
wanted to segue real quick because something in your bio that I was reading, and I've read your bio many times. Me and Yaki, I met Yaki long time ago when I was trying to be in music, and he was starting off on his film journey. And I remember going to his we went to his apartment. I don't remember. He was in college, I think, at the time. And
Incarnate Word, right?
Yeah.
Incarnate.
we went to his apartment, and it was a Sunday afternoon. I remember this. It was a Sunday afternoon, and you were going over a script, and you had your other film playing in the background. The fan was blowing, the lights were off.
You remember all this?
I remember all this.
I don't remember this.
And we was grinding. We had just came from the studio. We was on the way to a show. We had something else to go do. And I said, dang, I can't wait to start doing movies. And I think I remember telling you, I said, I'll see you there. I said, I'm going to be making movies too. And I don't know if you even believe me or anything. 'Cause he was like, who is this dude? dude, I was his cousin's friend, and I'm going in there, and I said, I'm gonna be making movies one day, and so I've always looked up to Yaki's career. But something I noticed in your bio that stood out to me, and not only do I look up to you as a filmmaker, but as a person in general, because you were one of the first people that I saw wasn't afraid to teach others to do exactly what you're doing. And, you know, as I talked about in episode 3, again, y'all got to go watch that. I'm telling y'all. There's many people don't want to share, you know, and it becomes a lot of keeping it close to the vest, and people have to go out and find it on their own. And you've never been, you know, afraid to do that. And within your bio, it says that you are one of the best filmmakers in, I think it's the U.S. or Texas or whatever. Now, I've never been in your course. I've never been in your course.
And he's
Film professors, that's what you,
I think it was. Yeah.
UTSA in Austin.
UT Austin, yeah.
UT Austin, I'm sorry, not TSA. UT in Austin is where you.
Yeah.
So I would like you to speak to your passion on teaching filmmaking and your relationship with your students and the rewards or even experiences that you get from that.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, anybody who doesn't want to share is insecure about their talent.
Yeah.
And I'm not insecure about my talent, because literally if I sat down and showed you every single thing that I've done, you still can't do it like me. And I can't do it like you, because I can teach you the mechanism to do it, but the real passion and the story and the artistic aesthetic, right, of who you are, that comes from within. I can teach you how to access it, but I can't give you that, right? And so for me, I've never been insecure about what I do. It is what it is. I am who I am. And I think for me, teaching in many ways is an extension of filmmaking, because when I'm on set, I'm teaching and I'm instructing. I'm working with actors, right? And I'm finding ways to get them to access certain emotions, right? I'm talking to the cinematographers, and we're talking about shot lists, and we're talking about lighting, and we're talking about lens choices, and we're talking about which camera we're going to use. These are all things that you do in a classroom anyway. And so for me, it's an extension. And then also on the other side, there is nothing for me more fulfilling than to have a student come into your class, they're unsure about themselves, they don't quite know what they want to do, they think they want to be a filmmaker, they kind of like watching movies, and then 13 weeks later, you get to see the work that they've created. And that work's not perfect, but you see that passion in them has been ignited. And for me, it's even the 3 years after them, because usually, sometimes I get students as freshmen, and then I get to see that journey, and then I get to watch their thesis films, and I'm like, man, I knew it. I knew that you were going to be able to do this. You just didn't know it, right? Even the young lady who plays the niece, right? She's a student of mine. She just graduated. She's going out to LA. And I remember the first class, when I first met her, she was kind of insecure. She didn't know what she wanted to do. And I actually gave her the job as director. I teach a TV pilots class because I direct TV too. So I teach a TV pilots class, and they come in, we build a crew up, and they direct the original pilot. And I chose her. And I chose her because I was like, I know there's a vision in there. I just need for you to fight for it and to learn how to articulate it to a team of people.
Right.
And she did that. And to see the work that she's done since then and the young lady that she's become, that brings me great joy.
Right.
And these students, I'm telling you, they come in sometimes knowing how to edit better than us. They know these cameras better than us. They know, because now you have high schools with real robust film programs, right? When I was at Sam Houston, we kind of had a little program, but it wasn't no real big film program, right? I just made it a film program.
We had a tripod and a camera.
Yeah, and I made it a film program. Exactly. But now they're coming in knowing Final Cut Pro and Avid, and they've shot on red cameras, and they've had their hands on Alexa 35s already before they show up to me. And so it's my job to, one, teach them storytelling. It's my job to, again, teach them the grit and the passion that you need to persevere. But also, it's reciprocal, because I'm learning from them as I'm teaching them. Because when you sit in the space, and I'm talking to students right now about this new film, I need VFX. A former student's gonna be doing it. A former student shot, a current student of mine shot the Ohio, Texas remix, and he's gonna be shooting Angels Watching Over Me, which is my next film. As a matter of fact, I think I'll say 75 to 80% of that crew, maybe even more, 85% of that crew, they were students.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because I just love bringing them on because I'm learning from them while I'm teaching them.
And you develop professional relationships
Yes, you do.
with them because you see their talents. And, you know, if you can teach them the right way versus them, you know, you having to work with somebody who's been taught wrong ways.
Yeah.
You know, let me teach you the right way to do this. Not just my way, the right way to where you can go to any set and be successful. That's going to benefit them in their careers.
Yes, it is. And then, you know, I think lastly, it's like, I think for me, I've watched so many people that I've mentored just catapult into success. You know, young man, I was texting with him the other day. He's a writer on this Forever show. And he was like, man, I want to thank you because you're the one who encouraged me to apply to this lab and you put in a good word for me. And in that lab is how I ended up getting the job on this Mary Brocker Kill show. My godson, who started my feature Wolf, you know, met Jordan when he was 15. Now he's the youngest showrunner, you know, in Hollywood, and he's one of the youngest black playwrights to ever have a play on Broadway, right? And I take great pride in that because it means that God has not just put me here to make my own work, but He's put me here to push other people to find their vision, to find their passion, and to actually be able to realize, to fully realize it and see it through.
You, they will be like, Professor.
Yeah,
Smith.
yeah.
And the good thing is those relationships, like you said, they're enduring. They will continue. They will continue. Like when you need somebody to come and shoot your film or whatever, you can call them. They will come and do it for you because you're special. To them.
And it's also inspiring too because, you know, I think another thing about teaching is that, you know, you spend a lot of your time helping people develop their story ideas. You're having table reads. You're doing feedback sessions. And to be honest with you, it reminds you that, wait a minute, hold on. Yes, I'm teaching them and I'm helping them, but I'm also a filmmaker.
Yep.
So now I need to go back and make my own work. And I think being around them inspires me to keep going and keep making my work because seeing them realize their project makes me realize, wait a minute, I have other stories that I need to tell, and I need to tell them now.
I think about Haile Garima because he was a professor too, and all of us who worked on we were students working on Sankofa.
Yes.
He pulled his students and made sure that we had that experience.
Which is
going
awesome.
to Jamaica, going to Ghana. I mean, it actually grooms you to be who you are.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
experiences. Because that's like working in the trenches.
Yes, it is.
It's like
It
working
definitely
in war.
is.
You're in war, and though you're
That's
in
when
the
you're
trenches.
paying your dues.
Yes.
That's when these
Yeah.
students are paying their dues.
Yeah.
I with the program I teach with now, I'm getting a chance to get those experiences. Now I'm 3 years, something.
EYCCP?
Yeah, through the EYCCP. But you know, even the talking to parents and the parents' appreciation for, you know, what the students have now accomplished after going through your course, or you know, being around the energy that you help create, you know, because, I mean, these kids, they look up to us, you know, and, you know, when people are, how can I put it? When people are heartbroken by something, it's because they had an expectation of something else. And so when you hear those stories of, you know, well, I always thought he was like that, and then I found out he was like that, you know, those are our responsibilities to stand up or be who they're looking for, because they want to lean on somebody.
Yeah.
They want to trust in somebody. And, you know, having a professor that's willing to sit down and help build your idea up, because a lot of these students that creatives, we communicate differently. You know, we don't think the same as
Not at
other
all.
people. You know, what some people think is common sense, or why are you absent-minded, or, you know, all these little things these commonalities that we all have as creatives. And you get in the room and you go, oh, it's okay for me to be that way. 'Cause
Exactly.
you were that way and you overcame it by whatever you did. And you get to teach that to them.
One of the things that, I mean, it's good to know that you teach sitcom directing. I need to,
Not sitcom, it's just.
what is, not sitcom, but
I do dramas.
television.
Yes, television directing.
I need to take that class. We need to get you to San Antonio, take that class. Because that is a hard area for black folks to get into.
Yeah, it is.
And I wanted to speak to you, who actually had the opportunity to work when you were
I
younger.
did.
So how did you get into that particular spot, or that? How did you get into that? And what did it do for you? What did it teach you? How did it groom you?
Yeah, you know, I think I've always been interested in television. Like, I've always wanted to do it, but you know, let's say 15 years ago, TV wasn't what it is now. right? You didn't have these shows that were as cinematic and had, you got movie stars now on TV, and you have these
You didn't
stories.
have showrunners then, did you?
You did have showrunners, but again, that's when you're doing things like on network television, right? So it's just a completely different mode of the TV that you see. I think HBO has always been at the forefront of creating some really interesting television, but Netflix and all these people, they weren't around.
Right.
And so I've always been interested in TV, but I honestly, I felt like the type of television that I might find myself in was not gonna fulfill me. I'm The Corner, The Wire, Snowfall, you know what I'm saying? I'm into those, The Shy, like I like that kind of stuff. And those things just weren't around, right? And so anyway, I had a short film, Dawn, that was the American Black Film Festival. We were one of the finalists for the HBO Short Film Award. And it just so happened to be, and that was my third time in that festival actually, but this particular year, it was in New York. And that was the first time that all of like the New York HBO executives actually were able to be there because they weren't coming out to Miami or to LA. So anyway, they loved my film, and I remember I was sitting at dinner with one of them, and she said, we want to do business with you, we love the work, it was great. What are you interested in? And I said, well, y'all got David Simon. You know what I mean? I'm interested in anything he does. And then, it took a year, and one day I literally randomly got a call from David Simon's producer.
Tell us about David Simon. The audience may not
know.
know.
David Simon, he created, first, his big thing was Homicide: Life on the Street, and then that turned into The Corner, and then that turned into The Wire, and then The Deuce, and very prolific TV writer, author. As a matter of fact, I believe his wife used to be a journalist, and she was here. I think we used to have the San Antonio Light, and I believe his wife was a journalist here, actually. But
now that's years ago.
Years ago,
years ago.
But he himself, is a journalist, writer, the whole nine. But has done some of, in my opinion, some of the best television shows we've ever seen on TV. I feel like The Wire, specifically season 3 or 4, whichever one is with the kids, that's some of the best TV I think we've ever had. Anyway, got a call, went to New York, sat down with David, sat down with Nina, and ended up on the show. And she called me and said, hey, I want you to come and shadow. She said, you can choose whatever you want. She says, but I think you're going to want to come during these days because we got Ernest Dickerson. You know who Ernest is? She didn't think I knew. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about Ernest, who shot every Spike Lee movie that I've ever loved, and you know what I'm saying, directed Juice, and that Ernest? Yeah. So again, I went out to New York. I was there for 6 weeks. So I was there for pre-production, production, and post. And it was just amazing to be in the presence of a master. I'm talking about a master. When you think about, again, Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, that's Ernest Dickerson. He created some of the most iconic visual aesthetic in black films that we've ever seen, right? And to just be sitting there with him, he has no air about him. He's the most down-to-earth, cool person, and really just invited me in to learn as much as I could. I remember there was one night, we were waiting for them to set up the shot or whatnot, and he was over there doodling. I didn't know what he was doing, so I was like, what you doing? And literally within 5 minutes, because I didn't know that he majored in architecture.
Yeah.
5 minutes, he had storyboarded out the scene literally by hand, and it was amazing. I can only do stick figures.
Yeah.
That's why I gotta use
right.
That's why I got to use Previous Pro, right?
Right.
These softwares. But I was like, dang, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when he told me, I majored in architecture, so we had to learn how to draw, blah, blah, blah.
At Howard University, thank you.
There you go. But again, I think that experience, just being there that long and seeing how television worked, it reignited that passion that I knew I had for television.
Yeah.
And I think it took about 4 years before I got Tales. It was a few years after that I got Tales. But between that, I was doing other TV. So I've done some TV for the Reels Network, for Lifetime. So I've directed some shows for them. And I think that, and I appreciate AMS Productions is in Dallas. I appreciate them because after I left Ernest, it wasn't like it was a direct line to network television or to Netflix or HBO, any of that. It wasn't like that, right? So AMS let me cut my teeth during their TV shows.
AMS is what?
AMS is a production company in Dallas, and so there are a few shows that they produce. There was a show called Murder Made Me Famous, Scandal Made Me Famous, The Price of Fame, and these are all of these shows it'll be like Murder Made Me Famous, the David Koresh story. And the way it works is they go out and they do real interviews with people who survived the cult. And then they hired me to do research and actually write a script. And then for 4 days, we actually we produced reenactments. And those reenactments, which are very cinematic, it's not like America's Most Wanted type reenactments. These are reenactments that have actual dialogue. They're lit beautifully, and they basically support the real life interviews. And so I did that with them for like 4 years. I worked on all their stuff. And again, that just kind of helped me really understand how quickly TV works, because TV moves fast.
Yes, it does.
You're shooting 60 pages sometimes in 7 days. And you have to move very, very, very quickly. But that's because you got to go in, you got to know exactly what you want. You got to know what to say to those actors. You got to trust that those actors are going to come in and do their thing. And you got to get in and get out of the way and move to the next thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to stop you there, because you're coming into it, and even with episodic television, period, you're coming into a space where you're the new kid on the block.
Yes.
Because everybody else is familiar with each other. The actors know each other because they do the. How does that work? You haven't worked with the DP, the camera. There's I don't know how many cameras are there. I mean, how does that work coming in as an outsider into these worlds?
Well, first, if you're going to direct a television show, you need to watch every single episode of that television show
Before you go
before you
into
get
it.
there, because that will show you the performance style you're getting. It also shows you like the visual aesthetic of the show, right? This show is not doing a bunch of handheld running around like Snowfall.
Right.
This show is on cranes and dollies. Okay, so now I gotta reconfigure the way I thought I was gonna shoot this. Okay, so talking about cranes and dollies. This show is shot in the studio. You're not in the streets. Okay, so this whole house is built on a set. One, that frees me because I can put the camera anywhere I want to, because walls can move. But also, it could also force me to shoot things in a very particular way, right? Because I can't move through a house or move through a studio maybe the same way. And so I think, one, familiarize yourself with the story, familiarize yourself with the characters, familiarize yourself with the visual aesthetic, and know exactly what it is that you want. Because I think the worst thing that a director can do is show up specifically as a new kid on the block and be unprepared. Because now everybody is looking at you like, well, why are you here? And not only that, you're excited because you're there for your 6 weeks. Like I was in New Orleans, on this show called Sacrifice for 6 weeks. But these people been there for 6 months.
Right.
They trying to get in and get out. They do not have time for you to be still figuring it out while we're trying to rehearse. You still don't know how you want to shoot something. No, you need to know how you want to shoot it. So,
but do you get there ahead of time, a week ahead of time, to sit on the
you
set
do.
previous?
So I get there usually, I think they brought me in 2 weeks before I shot. And so I get to actually sit on set and see what's happening. But I also get to spend time with my AD. I'm location scouting during that time because it's usually A team, B team.
Right.
So A team will do all the odd episodes and B team will do the even episodes. And so while I'm prepping my episode and I'm on B team, A team is shooting their first or second episode. And with this particular show, they brought all the directors in to shoot 2 episodes. And so we were prepping. That's why they brought us in early on. We were prepping for 2 weeks because I was prepping for 2 episodes. And so I would go through, I'm snapping pictures of all the locations, and I'm going back and I'm storyboarding. And so in my office was kind of like this, and I had a wall like this, and on my office, you just saw a bunch of storyboards of every episode.
Bunch of stick figures?
No, because I'm using Previous Pro. I'm using Previous Pro now. But you got me. But every day, I'm reading that script, and I'm looking, I'm reading that script, and I'm looking. And you got to show up, and you have to be kind.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like, a given, but sometimes our nerves make us unkind, right? Because we're now thinking that if somebody gives us an idea that they're trying to overstep their boundaries or to step on our toes, no, they're just giving you an idea. You don't have to take other people's ideas. But I think you should respect the fact that they came to you with the ideas and say, you know what, let me think about that. I say let me think about that a lot when I know I'm not going to shoot it that way. But it's better than me sitting there arguing with you. It doesn't even make sense. We're a team here. And sometimes I say, let me think about it, because I really am thinking about what you said, and I'm like, yeah, that might actually be a better idea.
Yep.
Right? And so I think show up, know what you want, be prepared, be kind, and know how to galvanize a crew behind your vision, right? There are battles that I have won, 1, because people like me, and 2, because I could advocate for myself and I could say, these are the reasons why we need to shoot it this way. Like we had one situation where I needed a crane. We were shooting at Cafe Du Monde. They didn't necessarily want the crane. It was about to rain. I said, no, we got to have a crane shot. So I had to get on the phone with the UPM who was going to shut it all down. And he,
Unit production manager.
Unit production manager, my bad. And I'm like, bro, we have to do this. And he's like, why do we need to do it? Because it's about to rain. Look, man, I'm telling you, I already showed y'all the storyboards. I'm going to get the crane in and out. I know exactly what I want. Please let me do this. And they let me do it. Because, again, I knew exactly what I wanted, and they knew I didn't waste time. They knew Yaki gets in, gets the work done, and gets out. And usually with me, we wrapping early because I can move through things
You don't
fairly
do a lot of
quickly.
retakes, reshots.
Sometimes I do too many. You know, if it's a very intense scene and I need a certain type of performance, yes, I'm gonna do multiple things. But if it's not that complicated and not that nuanced, and I know I've spent some time with the actors beforehand in their trailer, just talking to them on their way to set, no, we can do 2-3 takes and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want you to do anyway.
That's what I heard Tyler Perry does a lot. I heard that he doesn't do a lot of.
Oh, Tyler,
That's
you
what
know,
I heard.
Tyler just
He
shot a
has a-
feature in 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing. I would like to go and just be on the set and see how he's doing things.
Well,
It's
he,
amazing.
you know, I think Tyler approaches things like a play, though. Meaning that you're not going to be doing take 2, 3, and 4. As a matter of fact, I've heard that he wants a good one take. You might get a second one, and then he needs to move on because, again, that's the only way that he can get all of this material out so quickly.
And he's got such
a machine.
a big estate of stuff going on. He physically has to go to another
Yes,
set.
so he don't have a lot of time. And it's a machine. That's the thing, too, about TV. It's like, back to your point about us being a new kid on the block in terms of director, the crew is well-oiled because they've been working together
Yes.
for 6 months.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you can't figure out how to frame something, the DP will tell you, let me tell you what we've done in these other episodes. Do you want to recreate that wheel or reinvent that? Or do you want to do something else? Sometimes I'm like, let's just do it the way y'all done it because that's obviously something that y'all set up. Or I'll say, nah, y'all shot it this way 3 times. Just give me a few minutes. Let me figure out another way to do it. But it's very helpful to have a crew that knows how to move quickly.
So you don't bring in anybody. Like when you're
No.
called on, it's just you.
I bring in my assistant,
Everybody,
and that's it.
You do bring an assistant.
If they'll pay for it, I can bring an assistant. Sometimes they won't do that.
Assistant like an AD or
No, not an assistant director, but like just an
Okay.
assistant for
you.
me. For me,
Okay.
you know, somebody who can,
Like
you know,
a
like
virtual assistant,
yeah,
but-
you know, like
yeah.
when I was doing Sacrifice, I had to go back for reshoots, and I had just had this sinus surgery, so I couldn't fly. So my assistant literally drove me to New Orleans, stayed with me, made sure I had
Got
everything
you,
that I needed,
got
and then
you,
drove
got
me
you.
back. So oftentimes people just have somebody that's there for them to make sure that they have all the things that they need. And that's not always a given. Sometimes production is like, we ain't paying for that.
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry, you were gonna say.
I don't know. I lost it. I'm just listening like, wow.
I'm always fascinated I'm always fascinated because I look at what Ava DuVernay was able to do with Queen Sugar, and there was literally independent filmmakers coming on to doing episodic television, coming back from our background and not having that well-oiled machine connection, or not knowing how to function with that well-oiled machine. So it always amazes me how you come from our low independent, black independent film level to boom, episodic television on set with people you never worked for. It's got to be intimidating.
I'm not intimidated by it. To be honest with you, like, you know, I shouldn't say that. I think sometimes I can be intimidated, but the way that I deal with intimidation, to be honest with you, is I puff up a bit more. And my confidence. When I walk in a room, nobody would even know that I was unsure of what I was doing because I make sure that I walk in very confident. And that's another thing. Walk in with confidence, with your chest. I tell my students that even on their set, right? You walking onto your set, you don't know what you want, you got your head down. That is infectious.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that spirit of insecurity will end up moving through your entire crew. No. I don't come in like that. I come
Right.
in sure who I am,
Yep.
sure of what I am. And also, another thing that people respect is you knowing what you don't know,
Yep.
right? The thing I was shooting in New Orleans, we had this whole chase scene and it was guns. I had never done anything like that. And I remember telling the stunt
Right? How
coordinator.
do you do that if you don't do
You
it
tell the
like
stunt
that?
coordinator, first you watch a bunch of stuff and you figure out, okay, how they're shooting it. But then you tell the stunt coordinator, look, bro, I don't actually know exactly what I'm doing. I've never done anything like this before. So you and I are going to do this thing together, right? So I want you to know that I've never done it. So I may be looking for you to come and choreograph this differently. Or I may just say, hey, I don't particularly like what you did. I want to do this. Is that possible? Because I may not know what's possible. And so I think oftentimes we go in and we act like we know everything. That discredits us immediately because
Right.
the minute that you act like you know everything and then you don't have the answer to a question, people are pissed. But when you already come in with the spirit of humility, right? Yes, you're sure of what you're doing and you are confident in what you're doing and you do have a clear vision of what you want. but I don't know every single thing about this because I've never done it before. And people respect that more than anything else.
I look at Ava DuVernay, who did The Middle of Nowhere and then jumped to Selma. I wouldn't even know how to freaking function jumping from The Middle of Nowhere with a 3-4 person cast to Selma. A periodic crease with a gazillion extras, a gazillion costume designs, a gazillion props. I wouldn't even. I mean, I know you have your people in the props department, in the costumes, leading all of that, but the bringing it all together to direct, coming from that little independent film, that always amazed me. I don't know.
It's literally, that's another thing about being on television shows. You realize how big the crew is, but you realize how intimate and small the thing that is being captured in the camera. It is the same exact way in which you're capturing your own stuff. Yeah. When you have your cell phone and you're making your film. It's the same thing because it's all about what's happening in front of the camera. And so for me, I have all those discussions with the production designer, hair, makeup, DP, all that. But ultimately, when I get on set, guess what I'm worried about? I'm worried about what's being captured in front of my camera. Because that's what people, when you watch it, you don't know that it was a 200-person crew. All you see is two people in an intimate scene together. Well, that has to do with the fact that I'm able to create an environment where something that is big out here feels very intimate and small for you because that's where my energy needs to go. Right. And so I think oftentimes we become daunted by that because we think it means that things get so, no, the pressure is on because you got to move faster, but ultimately, guess what? The same thing. You shooting two people talking.
That's comforting to
hear. I like, ultimately it sounds like the lesson is don't be an isolationist.
Yeah, don't.
Because this is a collaborative process.
Yeah.
And
from small to big.
Exactly. Yeah. And communication is key. Public speaking, you touch on something that I've learned in public speaking is to put it out there what's wrong with you. If you're nervous and you're talking in front of a room full of 2,000 people, let them know. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous right now.
Exactly.
Now the audience has said, oh, okay, cool, let me give them a break because I would be nervous too. And, and when you go into a room with creatives, they want to, like I said, everybody on set is there for the same goal, which is to put a good project out. And I think if you go in, like you say, with that spirit of humility and, you're open, flexible. That's what I like to teach my students. You're flexible to what the day brings. You can get through it as a team. And I can imagine when you have a big team and when everything comes together, not that I can imagine, we've all been through it, but when it comes together and that magic happens on screen, there's no feeling like it, because like I tell people all the time, because we deal with people from big budgets to little budgets. I tell people all the time, doesn't matter. People don't know what the budget was. All they know when they watched it was, did they like it? Was they entertained?
Yep. And it's funny you say that because I also think like sometimes students and even just young filmmakers, as we start off, we need to hear that because I think oftentimes we feel like if we don't have a lot of money, that we can't make something magical and beautiful. But to be honest with you, going back to what I said about being an educator, it's really all about the story.
Right.
People forgive. I've seen movies shot literally like they're shot on iPhones do very well because it was an engaging narrative.
Right.
People like the people, or they're rooting for the people, or they want to go on the journey with the people that they're watching on screen. And ultimately, that has to do with being a good storyteller.
Exactly.
And so if you can master that in the small medium, you can master it in the big medium. It's the same exact thing, master storytelling.
It's the same thing, but I think there's a part of you, it's like, how do you know when you're ready to go from small to big?
You don't know. You just, you make yourself ready. You just do it.
You
I mean,
be ready.
To your point, it's like I've been wanting to do TV, and then when you finally get the call that they want you to come, to direct this episode of Tales or whatever, and then you're working with, this is another thing too, because I just get it out of my system. When you're working with people that you've watched your whole life, Debbie Morgan, Paula Patton, Michael Beach, Roger G. Smith. I work with all of the Irma Hall. I work with all of these people, and I got to get it out of my system by saying, I walk up to them, Debbie, I just want to say I'm a huge fan. I've been watching you since Eve's Bayou, right? Even before that, watching you since Rock, actually.
Since all my children.
Right, I ain't watch all my children. But just want to let you know I'm a huge fan, right? Can I get this picture real quick? Boom. Let's go to work now. because now I got that out of the way, and they respect that. And after that, it's like, no, I'm the director here to direct you. And again, I might not know everything. I might say the wrong thing sometimes. You might not agree with everything that I'm saying, but we here to play together, and we're here to collaborate with each other to create a good product that an audience will hopefully appreciate, because you can't always determine that either, but that an audience will hopefully appreciate. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think that that's very helpful to hear, because oftentimes we don't get the opportunity to talk to people who have been in those roles, in those positions. So thank you for that.
And look, I want to do more. I mean, I haven't directed television too. It's so the industry right now is so all over the place.
Yeah.
But you don't have to anymore. Like now you can direct your own shit.
But I still want to direct TV. I love TV.
The money is good
The
too.
money's good.
The magic is.
I look at Stacey Muhammad, who
Exactly.
started out
Killing it. Stacey is killing it. I've known Stacey for years, and to see her,
Killing it.
she's directing the greatest right now. The Muhammad Ali.
Oh, I didn't know that, but she
Yeah.
directed
Harlem.
Harlem, but the one I love, Otis, the one that took place in D.C. He's a crime detective.
Cross.
Cross.
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, Cross.
She
Yeah,
did-
yeah, yeah.
she did amazing job.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing job.
So to see
Yeah.
her is
Love
just
that.
so inspiring.
And also, I think it's interesting to talk about Stacey, and there's so many other people I could mention, but I think another thing that people need to be encouraged about, right? This journey is hard.
It is
It's
hard as
really
hell.
hard. I mean, even with this film, to be honest with you, I thought this film was going to play at all of the huge festivals. I was like, I know Sundance going to play at a
It
South
needs
by.
to be. It needs to be.
Rejected from all.
Yeah, that's what happened with Sankofa
Right,
rejection.
Rejected from all of them.
Yeah.
And my point is,
Yeah.
one, you got to just persevere, right? You got to keep going, but you also got to know this. It can turn around by one phone call.
One gatekeeper.
Literally. All you need is one person. I remember hearing Suzanne DePass say, everybody wants
Yep.
all of these yeses and yeses and yeses. And she says, and you get so desperate that you just keep getting no's. She says you need to wait for the yes, because all you really need is the one yes. If the one person says yes to you, I'm thinking back to Ava. Tina Mabry did Mississippi Damned, and I don't know what Tina was doing between then and Queen Sugar. Julie Dash, who we hadn't seen do any. These people got the call, and
Ayoko
it has
Chinzera, same
yes,
thing.
but it's changed the trajectory of their
Changed
careers,
their lives.
right? And so oftentimes again, you got to do the work, you got to keep moving, you got to keep creating, you got to keep learning and growing, pushing yourself, doing innovative things,
Yep.
but also know that it can be the one thing, and so you're just waiting for that one moment for
And
somebody
you
to
also
open the
have
door.
confidence in yourself and
Yeah.
and know your work is quality. Know your work
Yes,
is good. Even
regardless.
if someone else doesn't feel
Regardless.
it, you know it's good.
Regardless.
Do you have an agent?
I do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did you feel you need to get an
Well,
agent?
I've had. Well, he's my manager / agent. I've had Joel since Katrina's son, so 2011.
Oh wow.
And it's slow though, honestly. Me not being in LA is challenging sometimes. Not being able to just be in certain rooms with people. I mean, obviously during the pandemic, everybody transitioned to Zoom, and so it was cool because during that time I had so many meetings. But I think sometimes people are like, he needs to be out here in LA. Which I don't understand that, because people ain't even really shooting a lot in LA anymore.
You fly in anywhere.
I'm shooting in New Orleans. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in New York. I'm in Chicago. I'm in all of these places.
Right.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in LA.
Right.
So but I have a manager and we still navigating it.
Okay.
There's so much more that I want to talk about.
I know.
We have to do this again.
Hey,
we
I'm
have
ready.
to do this again.
I'm down.
No, we got to bring you in for a summer intensive camp on teaching episodic television. I think that would be.
I would love
be
it.
Dope.
I would love it. I don't know everything, but I can share the knowledge that I have.
No, I mean you're the closest that we know.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, if you social media things like that you'd like to share, upcoming stuff where people can find out,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
So obviously IG at Yaki80, Facebook Yaki80. I don't have TikTok, but Yaki YAKE
You ain't dancing
80.
on TikTok?
Nah,
Yeah.
I ain't doing that yet. You on there dancing?
I'm not on TikTok. Nope.
But yeah, find me on all that. My website is exodusfilmworks.com. And yeah, I'll be working on a new project. Basically, at the end of I have 2 projects actually I'm working on in Austin in June. One of them I'm really excited about. It is a sci-fi fantasy
Octavia
social
Butler
conscious.
type of thing?
Well, it sort of. I mean, you know, there's a comic book written by a group called Drexia, and Drexia has this mythology of that when Black people were thrown overboard during the Middle Passage, specifically pregnant women, that those babies actually became underwater creatures, that they are not dead, but they built a civilization. And so this film is basically about a celestial being that is conjured up out of the water, and he comes and saves this young girl who finds herself in a crazy situation.
Ooh.
So
That
I'm
sounds
shooting
fun.
that. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
We
yeah.
shoot that at the end of June. And then I have this other, this guy named Talib. He started this organization, the Black History Bike Tour in Austin. And basically on Juneteenth, him and like 3 other bike riders, they just ride around Austin to these historically Black sort of monuments or places, and they learn about the history of Black Austin. And so I'm actually directing a documentary about his organization, also just about the Black history in Austin. So both of those things will be coming up. Both of them be out hopefully by, you know, next year sometime. As I said, the short we're shooting at the end of June, and so it'll take a few months to get it done.
I don't know how
that's
you
next.
have time to write, direct, teach.
I don't. I just
be
do
a
it while I'm
daddy,
sleeping.
be a-
Yep.
be
When you
a
live this life,
husband.
you don't. You just
You do
dig it out.
You do it. You do it.
Well, thank you.
Thank y'all for having me. This was
Yes,
dope.
sir.
It's
Man,
amazing.
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course.
Thank
Of course.
you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in. I guess are we wrapping up right now? Thank you for tuning in. Tune in again next time. You'll be seeing more of the Film Fiyah podcast.
Hiya.